I carried him in my womb for 9 long months. I held his tiny hands when he was learning how to walk. When he was sick, I stayed awake all night, praying he would live. When there was no food, I pretended I wasn't hungry, so he could eat. I sold my land. I sold my jewelry. I sold everything, just to send him to school. He was my only son, my pride, my future. But one evening, because of his wife, my own son looked at me with cold eyes and said, "Mother, you need to leave my house." In that moment, my heart did not just break, it shattered. That night, I stepped outside with only one small bag in my hand, and tears I could no longer control. But what happened next? No one, absolutely no one, expected it. Stay with me. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The night my son chased me out of his house, I did not scream. I did not fight. I did not beg. Not because it did not hurt, but because the pain was too deep for words. My name is Grace. I gave birth to only one child, Pascal. When the nurse placed him in my arms, I looked at his tiny face and made a promise. You will never suffer. But life did not respect my promise. When Pascal was 5 years old, his father died suddenly. One moment we were a family. The next moment, I became a widow with a small boy who did not understand why his father was not waking up. That night, Pascal held my wrapper tightly and asked, "Mama, where is Daddy?" I swallowed my tears and said, "He has gone to rest." From that day, I stopped being weak. I became strong for him. I sold tomatoes in the market under the hot sun. I washed clothes until my hands became rough and cracked. I cleaned people's houses while they looked down on me. Some nights we had only one meal. If there was little food, Pascal ate first. If there was only one blanket, he used it. When he needed school fees and I had no money, I borrowed. When university admission came and the fees were too high, I sold the only land his father left behind. People warned me. "Grace, don't give everything to one child." I smiled proudly. My Pascal will never forget me. I believed that with my whole heart. Years later, Pascal graduated. He got a good job in the city. The day he called to tell me, he was crying. "Mama, your suffering is over." Those words healed my tired heart. Then he told me about the woman he wanted to marry. Her name was Linda. She was beautiful, educated, and confident. The first time she visited, she greeted me politely, but her smile felt thin. Still, I told myself, she will grow to love me. After their wedding, Pascal insisted I move in with them. "Mama, this house is yours too," he said. I packed my small box and moved to the city with pride. At first, everything was peaceful, but slowly, things began to change. Linda complained about the way I cooked. She corrected how I arranged the kitchen. She sighed whenever I entered the living room. One evening, I heard her voice through their bedroom door. "I need privacy. Your mother is always here." Always here. Where else was I supposed to be? I started staying in my room more. I reduced my talking. I tried to make myself invisible. But even silence was not enough. One afternoon, Linda accused me of taking money from the table. "I did not touch it," I said softly. She did not believe me. That night, she cried in front of Pascal. "She insulted me," she said. Pascal did not ask for my side of the story. He did not look at me the way he used to. Something inside me broke quietly. Then came the night everything ended. "I cannot live like this anymore," Linda shouted. "Choose today, me or your mother." The house became silent. Pascal called my name. I walked out slowly. His face was hard, cold, not the face of the little boy I raised. "Mother, maybe it's better you leave for now." "For now?" I stared at him. "Pascal," I whispered, "what are you saying?" "There is too much tension," he replied. "I want peace in my home. Peace. After all I sacrificed. After all I gave. I carried you for 9 months," I said quietly. He looked away. "Please don't make this difficult." That sentence pierced my heart. I went into my room. I packed my clothes into one small bag. My hands were shaking. As I folded my wrapper, I remembered dancing at his graduation. As I packed my shoes, I remembered carrying him on my back when he was sick. I stepped outside with my bag. I waited. I hoped. Maybe he would stop me. He did not. Linda stood behind him, silent. Pascal opened the door. I stepped out into the cold night. The door closed behind me. And as I stood there alone under the dark sky, I realized something painful. The son I gave everything to had just chosen someone else over me. But neither of them knew that this night would change all our lives forever. When the gate closed behind me, I did not move immediately. I just stood there. The house was bright inside. I could see the lights through the window. That was the same house where I prayed every morning for my son's success. Now I was outside, with one small bag and nowhere to go. The night air was cold. A soft wind blew against my face. I wrapped my shawl tighter around my shoulders. For a moment, I thought Pascal would open the gate and call me back. He did not. I slowly began to walk. Each step felt heavy. My legs were weak, but my heart was weaker. As I walked down the quiet street, memories flooded my mind. The day Pascal took his first steps, the night he had high fever, and I stayed awake praying. The years I worked without rest so he could stand tall. And now, I was walking alone. I reached the end of the street and stopped. Where would I go? I had no relatives in the city. My old house in the village was gone. I sold it for his education. I sat down on a small concrete block near the road. For the first time that night, tears began to fall. Not loud crying, just silent tears. Cars passed by. People walked past me without noticing the old woman sitting in the dark. After some time, my phone vibrated in my bag. My heart jumped. Maybe Pascal had changed his mind. I quickly brought out the phone. It was not him. It was a church reminder message. My hand trembled as I held the phone. I wanted to call him. I wanted to hear his voice. But pride stopped me. If I called, what would I say? Please take me back. No, I would not beg. The sky suddenly growled. Thunder. Then rain began to fall. At first, it was light. Then, heavy. Within minutes, I was soaked. I tried to find shelter under a small shop roof, but the wind pushed the rain inside. My bag became wet. My wrapper became heavy. I began to shiver. And suddenly, a painful memory came to me. Years ago, when Pascal was 6, there was a heavy rain like this. He was sick with cough. I carried him on my back and ran through the rain to the clinic. That day, I did not feel the cold. Tonight, I felt everything. God, I whispered, did I fail as a mother? A car slowed down near me. A middle-aged man rolled down his window. Madam, are you okay? I wiped my face quickly. I am fine, I lied. He looked at my bag. It's raining heavily. Do you need help? For a second, I wanted to say yes, but shame held my mouth closed. No, thank you, I replied softly. He drove away slowly. After some time, the rain reduced. My body was tired. My stomach was empty. I began to walk again, not knowing where I was going, just walking. Finally, I saw a small church building ahead. The gate was slightly open, the compound was quiet. I stepped inside carefully. I sat down on a wooden bench near the entrance. The place was dry, peaceful, safe. I removed my wet shawl and placed it beside me. For the first time that night, I allowed myself to breathe. Tears rolled down my cheeks again, not just because I was outside, but because the child I raised with my blood and sweat did not defend me, did not protect me, did not choose me. As I leaned back against the wall, exhaustion took over. I closed my eyes slowly. Little did I know. Someone had seen me enter that church compound. And that person recognized me. By morning, everything would begin to change. When I opened my eyes, sunlight was already shining through the church windows. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then the hard wooden bench under my back reminded me. I was not in my son's house anymore. I sat up slowly. My body ached. My clothes were still slightly damp from the rain. I looked around. The church compound was quiet and peaceful. Birds were singing in the trees. I whispered a small prayer. God, I don't understand this pain, but I trust you. As I stood up to adjust my wrapper, I heard footsteps behind me. Madam Grace? My heart skipped. I turned around slowly. A tall man in a neat suit stood a few steps away from me. He looked to be in his late 40s. His eyes were kind but surprised. Yes? I answered carefully. He stared at me for a few seconds, then his face changed. It's really you, he said softly. I looked at him closely, trying to remember his face. I'm sorry. Do I know you? He smiled gently. My name is Mr. Adderwell. The name sounded familiar, but I could not place it. He continued. 20 years ago. I was involved in a car accident near the market in your village. Suddenly, something flashed in my memory. A rainy evening. A car off the road, a bleeding man trapped inside. You? I whispered. Yes, he nodded. Everyone was afraid to help me. They said I might die and bring them trouble, but you ran into the rain. You called for help. You stayed with me until the ambulance arrived. The memory became clearer. That day, I had left Pascal at home alone. I saw the accident and could not ignore it. I remembered holding the man's hand and telling him not to close his eyes. You saved my life, he said quietly. I shook my head. I only did what anyone should do. He smiled slightly. No, madam. Not everyone would. He paused, then looked around. What are you doing here, this early? I hesitated. My pride wanted to hide the truth, but something in his voice felt sincere. I had nowhere else to go last night, I said softly. His eyes darkened with concern. Where is your family? I swallowed. My son asked me to leave his house. The words tasted bitter in my mouth. Mr. Adderwell looked shocked. That is impossible, he said. A son would not. It happened, I interrupted gently. Silence filled the space between us. He looked at the small bag beside me. How long have you been here? Since last night. His jaw tightened. Come with me, he said firmly. I stepped back. No, I don't want to disturb you. You are not disturbing me, he replied. For years I searched for you. I wanted to thank you properly. I even went back to that village once, but I heard you had moved. I looked at him in disbelief. You were looking for me? Yes, he said simply, because I never forgot what you did. I felt something warm in my chest for the first time since the night before. Someone remembered. Someone cared. I owe you my life, he continued, and now I see you sitting outside a church after being chased from your son's house. This is not right. Tears filled my eyes again. Life is unpredictable, I said quietly. He shook his head. No, sometimes life gives us a chance to repay goodness. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his business card. I glanced at it. CEO, Adewale Holdings Group. My breath caught. He was not just an ordinary man, he was powerful, respected, successful. And suddenly, I remembered something else. Pascal once mentioned that his company was trying to secure a major partnership with a large investment firm, a firm called Adewale Holdings. My heart began to beat faster. Was this a coincidence or something bigger? Mr. Adderwell looked at me seriously. Madam Grace, I cannot change what your son did, but I can make sure you never suffer again. I stared at him, confused. What do you mean? He gave a small smile. Come with me. It's time for your story to change. As I picked up my small bag and followed him toward his car, I had no idea that the same man who remembered my kindness was about to become the reason my son's world would turn upside down. I sat quietly in the back seat of Mr. Adderwell's car. The seats were soft. The air inside smelled fresh and clean. It felt like a different world from the wooden bench I slept on the night before. My small bag rested on my lap. For a moment, I wondered if I was dreaming. "Are you comfortable?" Mr. Adderwale asked gently. "Yes," I replied softly. But my heart was not calm. The car stopped in front of a large building with glass walls that touched the sky. People in suits walked in and out confidently. Adderwale Holdings Group. So this was where he worked. He led me inside. Staff greeted him respectfully. Some of them glanced at me with curiosity, but he did not seem to care. He took me into his private office. The room was large but simple, no noise, no chaos. He offered me a seat. "Madam Grace," he began, "I have thought about this moment for many years." I held my bag tightly. "I never needed repayment," I said quietly. "I know," he replied. "That is why you deserve it." He walked to his desk and opened a file. "When I recovered from that accident years ago, I promised myself something. If I ever found you, I would make sure your kindness was never forgotten." He paused. "I built this company from nothing. Today it stands strong, and I want you to become part of it." I blinked in confusion. "Part of it?" "Yes," he nodded. "I want to offer you a position as a community relations director in our foundation branch. We support widows, elderly women, and struggling families." My heart pounded. "Me? But I am not educated." He smiled kindly. "Education teaches knowledge. Life teaches wisdom. You have wisdom." I felt tears gathering again. "I don't know how to work in an office," I admitted. "You will learn," he said confidently, "and you will not be alone." He then added something that shocked me even more. "There is also a small house available under the company's housing program. It is simple but comfortable. You can move in today." I stared at him in disbelief. Yesterday I had nowhere to sleep. Today someone was offering me a house. I lowered my head slowly. "I don't want charity," I said. "This is not charity," he replied firmly. "This is gratitude." Silence filled the room. For the first time since Pascal closed the door on me, I felt seen, respected, valued. I took a deep breath. "If I accept, I want to work honestly. I don't want special treatment." He smiled. "That is exactly why I chose you." That afternoon I was taken to the small house. It was not a mansion, but it was beautiful. Clean walls, 2 bedrooms, a small garden outside. As I stepped inside, I felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. I placed my small bag on the bed. For the first time in many years, I had a space that did not feel borrowed. Meanwhile, across the city, Pascal sat in his office unaware. His company was preparing for a major partnership deal. The deal that could secure his promotion. The deal that would make him even more successful. That deal depended on one powerful investor, Adderwale Holdings Group. In the meeting room that same afternoon, Mr. Adderwale spoke calmly to his board members. "Before we finalize this partnership," he said quietly, "I want a full background review on Pascal Okoro." One of the board members nodded. "Is there a problem, sir?" Mr. Adderwale leaned back slightly. "I just want to know the kind of man we are about to trust." Back in my new house, I stood by the small window, looking at the evening sky. I did not know that at that very moment, my son's future was being quietly examined, and the door he closed on me was about to open into something he never expected. 3 days passed, 3 peaceful days in my new house. I woke up early each morning, swept the small compound, watered the flowers, and prepared myself for work at the foundation office. The staff treated me with respect. They called me Ma. They listened when I spoke. For the first time in a long time, I felt useful again. Meanwhile, Pascal's world was slowly beginning to shake. At his company, the long-awaited partnership meeting with Adderwale Holdings was finally scheduled. Pascal wore his best suit that morning. He looked confident, proud. "This deal will change everything," he told Linda before leaving the house. Linda smiled. "I told you you're destined for bigger things," she replied. They had no idea what was coming. At the meeting room, Pascal sat with his team waiting. Minutes later, the door opened. Mr. Adderwall walked in. Pascal immediately stood up respectfully. "Good morning, sir," he greeted. Mr. Adderwall nodded calmly and took his seat at the head of the table. The meeting began. Documents were presented, numbers were discussed, plans were reviewed. Everything seemed smooth. Until Mr. Adderwall spoke. "Before we move forward," he said quietly, "I have a personal question." The room became silent. He looked directly at Pascal. "Tell me, Mr. Pascal Okoro, what kind of man are you?" Pascal blinked in confusion. "Sir? What kind of man are you outside this office?" Pascal forced a small smile. "I try to be responsible, sir. Hard-working. Loyal." Mr. Adewale studied his face carefully. "Do you value family?" "Yes, sir. Of course." "Do you respect sacrifice?" "Yes." The silence in the room grew heavier. Mr. Adewale leaned forward slightly. "Interesting." He closed the file in front of him. "I have received certain information about your character." Pascal's heart began to beat faster. "What information, sir?" he asked carefully. Mr. Adewale's voice remained calm. "I learned that recently you asked your elderly mother to leave your home." The air in the room changed immediately. Pascal froze. His team members looked at him. How did you hear that?" Pascal asked nervously. Mr. Adewale did not answer the question. Instead, he spoke slowly. "A man who forgets the woman who carried him for 9 months, who sold everything for his education, may one day forget the people who trust him in business." Pascal's face turned pale. "Sir, it's not what you think." Mr. Adewale raised his hand gently. "I am not here to judge your family issues, but character matters." The room was silent. "I will need time before finalizing this partnership," Mr. Adewale concluded. He stood up. The meeting ended. Just like that. Outside the building, Pascal felt sweat on his forehead. His phone rang. It was Linda. "How did it go?" she asked excitedly. Pascal swallowed. "It's delayed." "Delayed? Why?" He hesitated. "Because of personal reasons." Linda's voice became sharp. "What personal reasons?" Pascal did not answer immediately. That evening, he sat alone in his office long after everyone had left. For the first time since he asked me to leave, he felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Not fear of losing money, but fear that his past actions were following him. Meanwhile, I sat in my small garden that evening, watering the flowers gently. I did not know about the meeting. I did not know about the delay. I only knew that for the first time in days, my heart felt calm. But somewhere deep inside, a storm was quietly building, and very soon, Pascal would realize that the door he closed on his mother was about to close on his success too. Pascal did not sleep that night. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying Mr. Adewale's words again and again. "A man who forgets the woman who carried him." The sentence would not leave his mind. Beside him, Linda turned and faced him. "You're still thinking about that meeting?" she asked. Pascal sighed. He knew about Mama. Linda's body stiffened. "How?" "I don't know," Pascal replied, "but he mentioned everything." Linda sat up immediately. "So what? Are you going to let that stop your success?" she asked sharply. "It's not about that," Pascal said quietly. "He questioned my character." Linda laughed softly. "Character doesn't pay bills, money does." Pascal turned and looked at her. "Why are you not even a little concerned?" She crossed her arms. "Because your mother was causing problems in this house. You did the right thing." Pascal did not answer, but something inside him was slowly shifting. The next morning, he received another message from his company's management board. The partnership review had been extended indefinitely. Some investors were suddenly cautious. Rumors had begun spreading quietly. Pascal felt pressure building. At work, his colleagues looked at him differently. Whispers followed him in the hallway. He began to feel small. That evening, He returned home earlier than usual. The house felt silent. He walked past his mother's old room. The door was open. Empty. Clean. Too clean. For the first time, he noticed how quiet the house had become without her soft footsteps. He stepped inside the room slowly. There was nothing there except blank walls. But memories filled the space. His mother waking up early to cook. Her gentle knock on his door before work. Her quiet prayers in the morning. A strange heaviness filled his chest. Linda's voice broke his thoughts. "Why are you standing there?" Pascal turned. "I was just looking." "At what?" she asked. "At the room." Linda frowned. "You're not regretting anything, are you?" Pascal hesitated. "I don't know." Her face changed instantly. "So now I'm the bad person?" she snapped. "I didn't say that." "You're thinking it." She stood in front of him, her voice rising. "Your mother disrespected me in my own house." Pascal rubbed his forehead. "Did she really?" Linda froze. "What do you mean?" "I mean, did she truly disrespect you? Or were you just uncomfortable?" Silence fell between them. Linda looked away first. "You're tired," she said coldly. "That businessman is manipulating you." But Pascal was no longer sure. Later that night, he picked up his phone. He stared at his mother's number. His thumb hovered over the call button. He lowered the phone, picked it up again, lowered it again. Pride held him back. Meanwhile, in my small house, I was preparing documents for the foundation. Earlier that day, Mr. Adewale had officially introduced me to the team. He announced that I would oversee community programs for widows. When he said my name in that conference room, people clapped. No one had clapped for me in years. After the meeting, he called me into his office. "Madam Grace," he said gently, "are you aware that your son works with one of our partner firms?" My heart paused. "Yes," I replied quietly. He nodded. "I delayed the partnership because I needed to understand something." I looked at him carefully. "What do you want to understand?" He leaned forward slightly. "I want to know whether he deserves another chance." The question hung in the air. I felt my chest tighten. He had power now, power that could affect my son's future. I closed my eyes for a moment. No matter what Pascal did, he was still my child. When I opened my eyes again, my voice was calm. "Everyone deserves a chance to correct their mistakes." Mr. Adewale studied my face. "You are kinder than most," he said. I smiled faintly. A mother's heart does not switch off easily. That night, as Pascal finally gathered courage to press the call button, his phone battery died. And somewhere deep inside him, regret was beginning to grow. Pascal did not go to work that morning. He woke up with one decision in his heart. He needed to see me. The house felt colder than usual. Linda had barely spoken to him since their argument. The silence between them was heavy. Without saying much, Pascal picked up his car keys and left. His hands were tight on the steering wheel as he drove. For the first time in his life, he felt afraid to face his own mother. He had called my number 3 times the night before, but the battery had died before the call connected. This morning, he charged his phone and tried again. This time it rang. I looked at the screen when it lit up. Pascal. My heart skipped. For a second, I almost did not answer. But I did. "Hello," I said calmly. "Mama." His voice sounded different, smaller. "Yes? I need to see you." There was a long silence. "I will send you the address," I replied. Less than an hour later, I heard a car stop outside my small compound. I was sitting in the garden when he entered. When Pascal saw me standing there, something changed in his face. He had expected to see me broken. Instead, he saw me peaceful. The small house behind me was neat and beautiful. Flowers were growing along the fence. He looked confused. "Mama, you live here?" "Yes," I replied gently. He stepped closer. "Who gave you this place?" "God sent help," I said simply. Pascal swallowed hard. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then suddenly, he dropped to his knees. Mama, I'm sorry. The words came out broken. I stared at him in shock. Pascal had not knelt before me since he was a child. I was wrong, he continued. I allowed anger and pride to control me. I did not defend you. I did not listen to you. Tears filled his eyes. I have not slept peacefully since that night. My heart trembled, but I kept my voice steady. Why now? I asked softly. He hesitated. I realized I have been losing more than I thought. Because of your job? I asked quietly. His head lifted quickly. You know? I know enough, I replied. He lowered his head again. Yes, the partnership is delayed. Yes, my company is under pressure. But that is not why I'm here. He looked up at me. I remembered how you carried me when I was sick. I remembered how you sold everything for my education, and I asked myself, what kind of son forgets that? Silence filled the space. I let someone come between us, he admitted. I did not mention Linda's name. Instead, I asked him calmly, if your success had continued smoothly, would you still be here? The question hit him deeply. He did not answer immediately. His silence gave me the answer. I took a slow breath. Pascal, I said gently, respect is not something you remember only when you need help. Tears rolled freely down his face now. I know, Mama. I know. I looked at him, the man he had become. I cannot pretend that night did not hurt me, I continued. When you closed that door, you did not just send me out. You broke something inside me. He covered his face with his hands. I am ashamed. I stepped closer and placed my hand lightly on his shoulder. Have truly changed, not with words. Have truly changed, not with words, with actions. He nodded immediately. I will. At that moment, a car drove slowly past my compound. Inside that car was Linda. She had followed him, and when she saw Pascal kneeling before me, her expression hardened. She was not done yet. And neither was this story, because what happened next would shock everyone. Pascal did not know that Linda had followed him. He was still kneeling in front of me when her car door slammed shut outside my gate. I heard the sound. Pascal turned. Linda walked into the compound, her heels hitting the ground angrily. So this is where you ran to? She said sharply. Pascal stood up slowly. Linda, not now. Not now, she repeated. You kneel here begging while our home is falling apart. I remained quiet. She turned to me. You are enjoying this, aren't you? Turning him against me. I looked at her calmly. I have not turned anyone against you. Pascal stepped between us. Stop it, Linda. But she was already angry. Ever since that businessman got involved, everything has changed, she shouted. Do you think I don't know? The partnership, the delays, this is because of her. Pascal froze. You knew? He asked slowly. Linda's eyes shifted. I heard things, she said quickly, but her nervous tone revealed more. Pascal stared at her carefully. What else did you hear? She remained silent. At that moment, Pascal's phone rang. It was from his company's board. He stepped aside to answer. Yes. The voice on the other end sounded urgent. Pascal, we just received a notice. Ardawale Holdings has finalized their internal review. The partnership decision will be announced publicly this afternoon. Pascal swallowed. And they are calling for a leadership evaluation. Your position may be reconsidered. His hand began to shake. After he ended the call, he looked at Linda. What did you do? He asked quietly. Linda's face turned pale. I may have contacted someone in the company, she admitted. Pascal's eyes widened. You interfered? I was trying to protect our future, she defended. By creating more problems? He asked. She had no answer. That afternoon, the official announcement came. Ardawale Holdings would continue the partnership. But with one condition. Pascal would step down from his leadership role temporarily for ethical review and character assessment. The news spread quickly. Friends called. Colleagues whispered. Pascal felt exposed, For the first time in his life, he understood something painful. Success built without integrity cannot stand. That evening, he returned to my house again. This time, he did not come with pride. He came with humility. "I lost my position," he said quietly. I looked at him calmly. "You lost a title," I corrected. "Not your life." He sat down beside me in the small garden. "I thought money was everything," he admitted. "I thought peace meant removing problems, but I removed the wrong person." Tears filled his eyes again. "I don't want power if I don't have peace." Linda did not return with him. Days later, she packed her things and left. Not because of me, but because the influence she enjoyed was gone. Pascal stayed in the small house with me for a few weeks, not as a boss, not as a successful executive, but as a son. He helped in the garden. He followed me to the foundation office. He saw how I worked with widows and elderly women. He saw the respect people gave me. One evening, he spoke softly. "Mama, I am proud of you." Those words healed something inside me. Months later, after showing true change and responsibility, Pascal was reinstated. Not because I asked for it, but because his actions began to reflect growth. At a public company event, he stood before many people. Instead of talking about profits, he spoke about family. "My greatest mistake," he said into the microphone to say, "was forgetting the woman who built me." Then he called me to stand beside him. In front of everyone, he knelt again. This time not in shame, but in honor. Cameras flashed, people clapped. But what shocked everyone most was not his fall, not the delayed partnership, not the public apology. It was this. The woman he chased out with one small bag became the reason he learned what true success really means. And as I stood beside my son that day, I realized something powerful. A mother's love can be rejected. It can be wounded. It can be ignored. But when it is truly understood, it can rebuild a broken heart.